Joe Biden looking to crush the trucker protest in Canada before it spreads here. The president telling Justin Trudeau to get tough and crack down on the Freedom Convoy. And White House officials are urging Canadian leaders to use their federal powers to break up the protests. It looks like they got the message. Ontario declaring a state of emergency and is demanding the truckers go home now. And Justin Trudeau issuing this direct threat.
We talked about the U.S.-based flooding of the 911 phone lines in Ottawa, the presence of U.S. citizens in the blockades, and the impact of foreign money to fund this illegal activity. Everything is on the table because this unlawful activity has to end, and it will end.
Meanwhile, the media keeps hammering the truckers as dangerous insurrectionists.
Some of the organizers of this protest, which, as I mentioned, started more than a week ago, they do want to overthrow the government.
The police chief says COVID protests are a, quote, nationwide insurrection driven by madness.
A nationwide insurrection driven by madness.
It's not just truckers. There's a lot of, I've heard there's QAnon supporters in the crowd.
Residents that I have spoken to who say they feel terrorized, intimidated.
Look at them dancing.
And while the media bashes them, a reporter from Bari Weiss's Substack actually went and spoke to him. Turns out it's a pretty diverse group. Quote, I've spoken to close to 100 protesters, truckers, and other folks, and none of them sounded like an insurrectionist, white supremacist, racist, or misogynist. Greg, I think I know what we need to do. We have to liberate the truckers from Canada. I say we do a full-blown invasion into Canada, make Canada part of the United States. I think everybody would agree that's the right move.
You know what? I like the sound of that, and I like the look of that map. You know, when Justin Trudeau said everything's on the table, didn't he just suggest a willingness to go to war? Because they're saying that Americans are involved. So did he just basically say, let's go, America? I find that very hard. Look, we saw this coming. When this first started, that it was going to be called an insurrection on 16 wheels. This is the same demonization that the media did with Trump voters, with parents at school board meetings. Everybody becomes a Nazi because they can't argue with them. The first thing they do is they try the blanket smear. I mean, do you really think these are the type of people that are going to mess with the Super Bowl? These are the people who watch the Super Bowl. And it's disgusting that our White House is putting them on par with terrorists. I can't even name a Canadian terrorist. I can name a lot of terrorists from other countries, but I can't do it. But they didn't even do that with Antifa or Antifa. You know, 24 people died in the George Floyd riots. They didn't get their panties in a bunch over that. But now they're doing it about, basically, Nobody has broken a law except honking. And then you got to see a bona fide CNN analyst threatening actual violence, basically trying to initiate violence by saying, slash their tires, drain their gas tanks, blah, blah, blah. Imagine if they did that. That would actually initiate violence. That is an actual CNN analyst trying to start something. Imagine if I'd said that about BLMers. Oh, man. But the thing is, Canadian truckers, easy target. There's no thumbs up emoji for them. You know, but then she backtracked and said she was just trying to talk about peaceful protests. No. She's an advocate for attacking a peaceful protest. CNN, again, wrong side of history. Wrong side on everything. It's amazing.
Isn't that incitement? You know, go slash their tires.
Yeah.
You know, the amazing thing about this is that Canada isn't used to this. The Canadians don't protest on the level that we do in the United States. And to get these truckers who gave everything at a time when they didn't even know how dangerous COVID was, to make them into terrorists and insurrectionists is absolutely absurd. But what is so hypocritical, and I'm so tired of using that word, is for Biden to call up Trudeau and say, look, you better make sure you stop them. Trudeau didn't even want to talk to them. He might have been able to stop some of this. But right now, they're now starting a protest on foot in Jericho. They're calling it the Jericho protest. They're protesting around Parliament. And the truth is that they're going to continue because the world supports them. And when Trudeau was talking about foreign money, he's talking about money from the United States, money from all over the world. And any government that threatens to take money from people who give it for someone else is committing a crime. It's a fraud. It's a larceny.
Geraldo, I think the only answer, we put a wall up on the northern border and we just end this, right?
Whoever would have thought that the southern border would be less chaotic than the northern border. I think I heard a lot of well-expressed but bogus analysis of what's happening.
Bogus.
Bogus
At this
analysis.
table?
I just got off the phone with my friend who lives in Toronto but does business in Ottawa. He says that Canadians are, they're nice people. They are, and they don't overreact. They are grotesquely annoyed, or profoundly annoyed, I should say, that the government has taken this long to clean up the streets of the capital city. Calling them truckers is very romanticizing them. They're more like Occupy Wall Street. Less than half of them are actually in the trucking
Occupy
business.
Wall Street, they didn't even have a job. What would you call them?
There's a couple
These people are truckers.
There's a couple of thousand. Some are. Half of them are. The other half are
who support
Occupy
them.
Wall Street.
No,
types.
they support the truckers. These are hardworking people.
These are disgruntled people. Listen, they have whatever their beef is. I understand that. I have no problem with people acting out to resolve issues that they have. What I have a problem with is when you stop trade between two nations, you put people out of work, you cause enormous,
Only the government can do that.
Who put people out of work? The government put people out of work.
Toyota and Ford are closing shifts now because they can't get parts because of the protest.
But they voluntarily opened one lane on their own. They don't want to stop trade.
The pathetic thing about this is that it has been allowed to go on for over 2 weeks. Can you imagine in the capital city? Closing things down, annoying people to beat the band.
They should set fire. You know what, Geraldo? They should set fire to buildings. Yes. They did that all summer. I didn't hear you passionate.
Where do you think they go to the bathroom? Just curious. Where do you think they go to the bathroom?
Bathrooms?
In those cans.
Truckers know how to do that.
Cans lined up.
All right.
By the way, I love how when it comes to lockdowns and masks, hey, don't stop just a little bit longer, just a little. We're almost there. We're almost there. Truckers show up and you go, oh my God, they're shutting things down. That has to stop right now. That's hypocritical.
International
You're talking
commerce.
out of two sides of your mouth.
Act of war. I am not.
Yes.
Right. You wouldn't see two sides of my mouth with my mustache.
All right. Megan McDowell.
To call closing some lanes on a bridge an act of war is the height of idiocy. There's some shifts that have been shut down at plants. And by the way, there are other bridges that go from Canada into the United States and back. So this is not a massive hardship. It doesn't help the case of the truckers that if people are out of some hours on the job at a Ford plant or another plant, so they might want to think about that. True. But the very way that these leaders and these gassy clatterbags on CNN have handled this and talked about this exemplifies why the truckers are protesting and angry in the first place. From the leaders, from Trudeau on down, obey our edicts and decrees from on high, these would-be emperors and kings. They get treated as if they're plebes and proles over and over again, that it's beneath Trudeau to even sit down and talk to them. They don't deserve to be heard. They don't deserve a conversation, just vilification from these leaders in Canada and these individuals on CNN. One thing about that CNN thing, she said, take their gas, slash their tires, and then move the trucks. Does that moron not know how trucks actually operate? That if they don't have gas and their tires are flat, they're not moving anywhere. Just one more thing. These are the people who moved food and necessities to all of us.
Some of them were.
A
lot of them were not.
They were.
One thing. My friend in Ontario said that they are generally
regarded as... Is he a truck driver? Because if he's not, he can stick a sock in it.
Ultra-right ruffians.
Oh, there you go. I want to agree with Geraldo. This blocking this bridge is wrong because how is Justin Trudeau going to get his shoe polished?
Yeah, that's right.
He's got to put the blackface on.
Yeah. And by the way,
he can't call anybody racist.
One of the things they're objecting to is the term. They want to terminate the digital tracking and the contact tracing, which they're doing on your iPhone. You may want to look at it. You haven't agreed to it, but go through your settings. You're being traced.
If you bought a loaf of bread or some Advil for your aching back because you were sitting on your ass all day long every day for 2 years, yes, you at CNN, you got it because of a trucker. Thank them rather than sneering.
Okay, and I think we can all agree Geraldo's friend in Canada represents all
of Canada.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.